And the reason they did that was so that that wood, I understood, so it would help allow it to round.
Oh, I'll give it a lot to flex.
Yeah,
Get it
because
into position. Yeah.
when you look at the lips on the tongue and groove, you'll find that one lip is shorter than the other, and that goes on the inside of the side.
Sure, yeah.
And then they will seal up. And then around the bottom they had some kind of a caulking they made up with sand and something else.
Some kind of a
Seal the
grout.
bottom end,
Almost.
where the staves come down onto
Yep.
the foundation. And then a band of metal about this long, rounded for the silo, with a piece going down into an eye, and with the nut and the bolt you could bring that down snug and then hold the silo from moving off the foundation.
Yep.
Several of those around the outside.
So
So-
to hold it up tight, they had them round rods go around. And then
Yep.
they meet.
Metal stave,
Yeah, and the metal piece here where this would go through, and the nut on each side to
right?
you could snug it up. And then he also had wooden bands around it.
Yep.
You remember when Sid used to climb up the saddle from the outside?
Sid and Frank both, crazy brothers.
That's
A
I
wooden
guess we were
stave.
smarter than them. We didn't do that.
No, they had a wood stave near the bottom, I believe, and then two metal ones, and then another wood one.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd climb up where the metal things come together,
You could
quite
get-
often the bolt was sticking out that much. So you get a good hold and then you get a hold of the wood, draw a deep breath, I'm a dang fool, and then take the next step.
This was, at least what I remember seeing Sid do, it was like after we had dinner
Oh,
in the middle of the day, he'd come back out to start filling again. He just climbed up the outside of the silo.
but it's not easy to get in the silo from
Yeah.
up there. You had where the silo stave stopped, that was the top of the silo. Then there was about this much room maybe you could get in, but you had to have some silage there
It had
to
be
land
full.
on.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
So
There's
you
no
couldn't-
no ladder on the inside.
No,
No.
not in the silo.
No.
And then across the silo, it was like a big 4x12 like it's in here,
Yeah.
to crawl across for putting the pipes and everything up.
And that was a heavy son of a gun because every so far one of the wood staves would come up, 18, 24 inches higher than the other ones, and then
Yep.
they're there, so there was an opening there. And then the plank had to be moved. Well,
And you were sitting on it more than likely,
yeah.
along with all the, what is that stuff that birds do up there?
Oh, I don't know. I'll go ask Kate a minute. Yeah,
And when you were up there, it was usually, silo was empty. It was
Yes.
30 some feet down.
Just get a great big handful of bird crap and hope it doesn't fall in your face.
you hang on anyway.
Yeah.
No matter what comes in your face.
And your pants are going to be dirty. You just figure on changing them for the next day because that's the way it was going to be.
Yeah.
Shake bolts, or they may go up in the hills and make their own.
They went up in the hills and made their own. Dad and Ted T-Cell.
Okay.
Ted took his half home and I don't know if he ever built a building or not, but went up and contacted the forestry department, and they would tell people who would get a permit, like Dad and Ted, show them a couple big logs. And near Silver Creek Camp up there, and I think it's on the opposite side of the camp, opposite side of the road from the camp. And in there they had a cedar log, as I remember it, about this tall,
Laying
laying
down.
flat.
Yeah.
And how do you think they cut that?
By hand.
Misery whip.
And they had to stand up on stuff before they started on the top.
Yeah.
And neither one of them was tall enough to reach that, of course.
No.
And then the forestry department wanted you to take everything you could. And so then lumber that wasn't going to split nice, they would make into fence poles.
Hmm.
And so then Elmer Ratter lived down the road here near Van Dyke's. He had a 2-ton truck with a hoist on it, Jimmy. And Sid and Frank and I and Elmer Ratter, all in a conventional cab, went up the hill to get those fence poles. And I remember, I know we had at least one big load. I don't know if there was more than that or not. But,
So how'd they haul from the mountain down here?
Yeah. well, Dad and Ted camped up there for a week at a time, and the family
Oh.
did the chores.
Oh,
They just stayed up there.
Oh,
They had their
geez.
tent and
Huh.
a creek not too far away, so they had water.
yeah. How'd they get the lumber here from Bellingham for the main part of the barn?
You know, I can't give you any detail except that I know some came in on hay wagons,
That's what I remember hearing. Yeah.
and I don't know if they hired somebody to haul part of it, but we had what they called a Model T pickup. No cab on it. Just a windshield. Or was there?
I don't know. I remember that.
I know the windshield could flop down too, but and it just had a short box, about 5 foot by 4 foot. And that had a special transmission in it, but they called it a Ruck Steel, and it was like a 2-speed.
Like a Johnson bar,
I don't know what they called
high
it.
and low speed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
same idea.
And I don't remember how they shifted that, but
Either.
I got to drive it one time when I was about 7 or 8, and I didn't know how to drive it. Brother Frank says, "You drive it." He says, "Get in there." And he couldn't do anything in my book. And he says, "Here's the throttle. Put it on this notch." And he says, "And there's the I don't know what you call it, first gear or something. You had to put the pedal down and hold it down, I thought, to make it go. It had bands underneath like an automatic transmission,
Oh,
similar to an automatic transmission."
yeah.
I should back up. We was going to do hay by Uncle John Bauman on the Abbott Road. Across from Bob Notabone, now it's Northwest Electric, Haystacks have it. And they had a few wagon loads of hay to put up in his barn. So we had to bring old June, our slow horse, down there. And so they put a harness on her here, threw Rich on top. No, I drove. Drive her down there. We got down past Scott's Ditch, gravel road, of course. Her feet were sore. She didn't want to go, so she just stopped. And how can a little 60-pound kid make that big horse go?
Except for the gas.
Frank come back with a Model T. He was going to come home to get something from Uncle John's, and he stopped. "What's the matter?" I says, "The horse won't go. Her feet are sore. She's got to go, you know." And so he'd crack her across the rear end with the line. Well, then she'd walk. As long as he drove, she'd walk. And so he said, "I got to go home. I got to get this, whatever." And so then he put me on the horse, coiled up the reins, put him over the hame, got me a stick out of the ditch, willow switch. He said, "Just crack her on the butt good and hard. Hang on to lines." Well, I crack her, and she'd jump about 2 feet and stop. A little kid swinging.
She knew exactly what was going on.
Anyway, here comes Frank back pretty quick. He bumps into the rear end of her. Well, she jumps and goes about 20 feet and then stops. Hits her again, she stops. So, well, he said, "That ain't going to work out. We're going to wreck something." So he said, "You get in the Model T." And she just stood there while we was doing all this. "You get in the Model T and drive to Uncle John's." I'd never driven anything in my life. Never. I was 7 or 8. And it was kind of complicated. You had to push that pedal down, have the throttle here, and then you got going, and then he throws that thing in gear and high range and jumps off the thing and slams the doors and jumps off. Here I am, and the corners seemed a lot more trees on by the Abbott Road, where the Noon and the Abbott come together. Goes this way, you know, and you couldn't see around them because trees and brush was growing up. And I was on the wrong side of the road in the last corner, meeting a vehicle. They turned and got in the other lane, and we went past each other on the wrong side of the road. I got done with John's, and I put the throttle a little slower. And his regular driveway you would go in, they had 2 loads of hay parked there, so you couldn't get in. And then the fence, and then another gate that the open and close occasionally. There was a 4 or 5 strand barbed wire fence, barbed wire gate. And I was going to turn into that, and I put all the brakes on, and I stretched the fence, the gate a little bit, but I didn't go through it. And then Uncle John says to Frank, "Sonny, why did you let that kid drive that thing? He could get killed, you know." Uncle John, you just don't understand life. Oh, mercy. Here. Actually where the parking lot is. You can see the end of the sidewalk. That went up the steps and the porch of the old house. So that parking lot and driveway is where the house was. So that was in '61. And we started farming here then. In '67, we built a loafing shed on the other side. That's about 98 foot by, I don't know, it held 76 cows or something like that. And then after that, we built the silo bunker. That must have been in that was '67, and then in '69 we built the milking parlor. And then we built the house here in 1980.
Okay.
And that's kind of the sequence.
Okay.
You remember the night that you and Ron got the deer? He was out in the chicken coop filling them.
Oh.
In the dark.
Oh, shit, I missed that. Yeah, we was up on...
You're going to be in trouble when we get to heaven.
He'll understand. What is the name of that road? The Alm Road?
I think so. It
Didn't
goes up the
Potts
hill.
have some berries there on the north side of the road? Or somebody did. Strawberries.
Yeah, there was berries over there by the garbage dump.
Yeah.
Beyond the garbage dump, I think.
Anyway, we seen a couple of deer out there, and we took one of them home with us, and we no more than got the deer in the trunk of that car. It was kind of a flat trunk on a 38 Pontiac, maybe?
Somewhere in there.
No, something like that. And here comes somebody off the North Pass. Holy balls, they probably heard us shoot and hit the throttle. We go through Everson. Right in the middle of Everson, the deer starts kicking the trunk. Bang, bang. Oh. I said, just drive normal, Ron. Just drive normal. Just drive normal.
Turn the radio up.
We got it home, and we butchered that thing at home at his place. And Ken took the wheelbarrow and hauled the innards out there and dug a hole between the 2 chicken coops. Threw them in there and covered it all. Didn't Dad come and help us cut it up later or not?
I don't know. It seemed like I remember you guys stopped here.
Did we?
Maybe to tell Dad and have him come help you. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm too late for killing the chickens. Oh, Daddy was pissed off.
Yeah, he's talking about where the milk hose is. So this is the milk house right here?
This is the milk house, yep.
Yep.
Here's where the milk stand used to be when they had cans, a 10-gallon can. The milk truck would pull in there, put on the full cans, and set off your empty ones.
Yeah, they had doors on each side of the truck.
Yeah.
So they could load from either side. They just put a chain or 2 across it so the cans couldn't slide out.
Yeah, so they wouldn't run around. And then when we got a milk tank, go grade A, and we had Skookumchuck Water Association came in here, and to have grade A, you have to have certified water. And they don't want it just out of a well or out of the creek. And that was monitored and controlled. And so we knew there was no bacteria. So therefore, we could sell milk that would be drank by the customers in the stores. And so then there was a bulk tank, about 300 gallons set in there, and then here's where the hose went through. And then the milk truck was just a single axle Ford driven by Bill Skolton, Allen Boss Company. They were the first grade A milk processors in Whitcomb County. And he'd put his thing in there and hook it all up, pull the milk sample, turn on the agitator, pull the milk sample, and then start to pump. And they had to start the pumping. I don't remember how we did that. Later we had an outlet when we went to a bigger tank. We had an outlet right here that you could plug in to draw electricity.
I don't know how that one was.
And then this was the hose port that goes through the cement wall, and you'd stick your hose in that. That was a newer tank and a bigger tank.
Okay. And this milk house was built the same time as the barn or shortly after?
This milk house was put up the same time the barn was.
Okay.
Brother Frank Bauman went to Linden High School, graduated from 8th grade in Linden Christian on Grover, and then he went to high school at Linden Public on Main Street. As a freshman, he built this building from here up for a colony house for chickens. That's in a whole other story. And then, so Dad needed a milk house, and we were going to move, and so we hauled it over here on a hay wagon and put it on the cement foundation, and served as a milk house ever since.
Oh, okay. So this wasn't, the wood part wasn't built here, it was built
Built in high school.
in high school, hauled here, set on top of this foundation.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, man.
And since then, we've used it for calf. You know, we had a new milk house later, and then we had calf grain in here, and that's what that hole is all about up
okay.
there.
Oh, right up there, the calf
Yeah.
grain would go in.
Yeah, with a bulk truck.
Yeah.
And then later on, we had chickens in there just for the fun of it.